Hey everybody, Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here. So how'd you like that video game soundtrack Top 3 Tuesday video that I made a few weeks back? Well, I'm here today to talk about something quite similar. There's been something going on when it comes to video game music recently, actually within like the last 2-3 years maybe, where video game music on vinyl is like a thing. It took me completely by surprise. It just started popping up like in my news feed on Facebook gradually over a matter of a few months, and I started to take interest in it because I love video game music. I love film soundtracks. I love classical music, so it all appeals to me. I used to have a very large collection of video game soundtracks on CD. You saw some of them in the room tour video. But I was not really into vinyl because I don't own a turntable, so I have no way to play record albums if I even wanted to, at least at that point in time. And then I was offered a video game soundtrack on vinyl, and I wasn't going to pass it up. It's free. Why not? And it just sort of kicked off this new collecting goal for me, and I've been looking for video game soundtracks on vinyl ever since. Scorpion Slayer 66, eat your heart out. Not as regularly as I was looking for video games, mind you, but enough. So, what video game soundtracks do I own on vinyl? Let's take a look. There are many companies out there that are releasing video game soundtracks on vinyl, and I have a lot of albums from a lot of different companies. So I have everything separated by what company I got it from. So let's start from the beginning. The album that I was given for free was the Streets of Rage soundtrack. This is released by a company in Great Britain called Data Discs that focuses primarily on games released by Sega for all their different systems. Yuzo Koshiro's music for the original Streets of Rage is amazing, and of course I wasn't going to pass it up because it's one of my favorite video game soundtracks ever. It wasn't in my top 3 list, but it's up there. But what really is cool about these Data Disc releases are all the extras that they come with. This is like, I think, the Japanese cover art, and this is the American. It also came with some stickers, but I don't know where I put them. It's somewhere around. And another thing that is really cool about them is the albums themselves, because, you know, everyone's used to their standard black vinyl, but a lot of these come on really cool colored vinyl, 180 grams, which is, I guess, the best quality you can possibly get when it comes to an album. Translucent red, I think looks awesome. I mean, it's just beautiful. And they sound fantastic. So once I received this and I saw the kind of quality product that it is, it kind of got things kicking off in my brain, and I was like, well, maybe I should get a few more, because Data Discs had already released a few other soundtracks in their catalog. Their second release was the Shenmue soundtrack. Also comes with a poster and a really cool translucent blue album. Although the thing about this one is, if you're a Shenmue fan, you know how long that game is, how sprawlingly epic it is. I do not believe for a second that all that music is on one dual-sided album. So this is basically a sampler. Their third release was Shinobi 3. Comes with this really cool long poster, which I think is rad looking. And I seem to remember them saying that this is oxblood colored vinyl. Whatever. It still sounds amazing. Their fourth release was Super Hang-On. I'm not really a big fan of these games. Then why did I buy this? Well, I wanted to get all the Data Disc things because collector. The thing about this one that really got me was the design of it. It looks pretty standard right here, but check that shit out. It's so beautiful! Yeah! The album itself is this white, red, and blue splatter pattern on clear vinyl. And this is actually the arcade soundtrack, not the Genesis version. Next up is the one that I was the most excited for. You have no idea. Streets of Rage 2. And this one is where they finally said, yeah, there is a lot of music in this game. Maybe we should make it a double LP. And they did. Check this out. This thing is freaking awesome. Love this artwork. It is amazing. Dual LPs on this really cool smoky black and red splatter. Both of them are in that style, which is awesome. And like most of their other releases, it comes with some extra artwork. Yuzo Koshiro is a genius. Next one was Outrun, and this is based off of the arcade also. And here's another one with a really cool cover. It comes with a whole bunch of different artwork that you can swap out so your cover can have different backgrounds. And I love the design of this album with the pink, the green, and the clear, which is kind of translucent, which is kind of awesome. I just love the way they make these albums nowadays. Next is Golden Axe 1 and 2. Awesome, like, gold and purple flower pattern on the album. That is gorgeous. And also some extra artwork in here from the 2 different Golden Axe games. This is awesome. This is Panzer Dragoon. I absolutely love the music from Panzer Dragoon. It's got some Japanese influences, but also has like what I think is like some Middle Eastern influences, which is really awesome. Really cool artwork from the game. And it comes on 2 albums. The albums themselves, I don't think I got the limited editions that were offered. This is just the standard like blue version. But there was a limited edition one that I think was like clear and blue. I wasn't fast enough to pick that one up. But I was just stoked to get this. This is one of the ones I was looking forward to the most. Next is The Revenge of Shinobi by Yuzo Koshiro. This one comes with some artwork and a forward by Yuzo Koshiro himself, which is pretty awesome. But on the slip of the album, it actually has some really cool artwork from the different characters from the game. And the album itself is this white and black splatter, which is really cool looking. This next one has 2 different games on it, but I wasn't super stoked about it because I'm not like this hardcore fan of these games. I like them, but they're not like my favorites. But I was like, if you want to get the whole Data Disc collection, gotta get it. This one has Galaxy Force 2 and Thunderblade on it. Really cool artwork, and this clear album with some yellow and white splatter on it. And I do believe this one is both of the game's arcade soundtracks, not the Genesis port. This next one is where they started to branch out a little bit. So far, every single one of these was a game that was released by Sega and was developed internally. This next one is music from a game that was developed by Treasure. Gunstar Heroes, suckers! And they went all out on this one. I mean, not only is the artwork on the front rad as hell, but it comes with all this extra stuff. You get a full-size poster of the game artwork itself, and on the other side, it has an extended version of what's on the cover of the album. And each one of the slip covers has artwork on them also, which is amazing. And these awesome half red, half blue albums. If you've played the game, you know why. And the latest release is the one that I thought they should have released first. Altered Beast. Comes with some fantastic artwork on the slip as well. The album itself is clear with yellow splatter, which is, I think, beautiful looking. All in all, Data Discs releases top-notch product. Outside of some issues with their shipping, most of my albums I've gotten slightly damaged, like the corners of the covers have been crushed, but outside of that, this stuff is amazing. Another company that has really cornered the market on video game soundtracks on vinyl is Mondo. They used to be really known for putting out limited editions of movie posters, t-shirts as well, because their website is Mondo Tees. Now they've really started to focus on albums, and they not only release albums by actual bands and film soundtracks, but also video game. And just like Data Discs, who focused on Sega games, Mondo focuses on Konami. Yes. You can see where this is going, can't you? And their inaugural game soundtrack on vinyl was first available only at the San Diego Comic-Con, I do believe in 2015. Just so happened I had a couple of acquaintances attending that year, and I asked them to pick up a copy for me, and they did. So Mary and Brian, you're awesome for going standing in a line for some panel for a movie to pick up a little record album for me. So thank you. You're awesome. And that was the original Castlevania. And this is actually an EP, not an LP, because, you know, the tracks were not that long and there wasn't a whole lot of music in that game since the game was actually kind of short. So it is on a smaller album, and the San Diego Comic-Con version was this gray and translucent red version, blood red if you will. All of Mondo's albums are on 180 gram vinyl, which sounds fantastic. And the thing I like the most about Mondo is the artwork for their albums. They put some awesome artwork on every one of these. Every bit of these is covered in awesome artwork, especially the gatefold. Holy crap, it's a map of the game. Damn. Not too long after, Mondo released the soundtrack to Simon's Quest Castlevania 2. Awesome artwork as well, and another map on the gatefold on the inside. I prefer the music from Simon's Quest to the original Castlevania. It's a little more moody and dark. And this was not the limited edition version. This one is 180 gram blue with yellow splatter, which is not too impressive looking. Next up was one of my favorite video game soundtracks back in the day, still holds up, and that is Contra 3: The Alien Wars. Awesome artwork once again. This one actually has screenshots of the game on the back, which is different. But the inside, ba-boom! That is rad. And the album itself is translucent blue and red with some white splatter in it. I do believe this one is the limited edition version of this album. I've always been a fan of Contra 3's music. I actually had this on audio tape back in the day. I recorded myself playing it and listened to it on the bus going to and from school. I don't know if that's sad or rad. You be the judge. Then came the Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse soundtrack. Cool thing about this one is that it has not only the NES version of the soundtrack, but the Famicom version, because it had a special chip in it that gave it a whole bunch of different channels of sound that we didn't get over here. Sounds 10 times better. Need to get a copy of that game ASAP. Awesome artwork also. 2 albums. One album is dedicated to the NES version, one album is dedicated to the Famicom. They both have the exact same artwork on it, and that is orange with white and black splatter. Next up is one that I never thought would get released, and that is Silent Hill. Love the simplicity of this cover artwork. The Jeep stuck in the snow. Back just has some footprints in the snow, and the inside, prepare yourselves, that's some racy shit. So much music in this game that it came on 2 LPs. Each of them looks the same, but it's clear with white splatter. Looks so freaking cool. I even love the design of the label on the album itself. The next release was Super Castlevania 4, which is my favorite Castlevania game and my favorite Castlevania score. 2 albums of Castlevania awesomeness. More great artwork. You got Dracula pouting on his throne. I'm gonna die. Another map on the inside of the gatefold. It's so rad. Each album has the exact same style of artwork, which is silver with some red blood splatter. Then came the original Contra. And because it is an NES game, and there was only like, what, 6 or 7 levels in that game, it is not long. This one is half red, half blue, which is awesome. Great artwork. God. Look at that. Look at that. You know you want it. And then the last one I have from Mondo is something that is from a game that hasn't even been released yet, and it's different because it is actually songs by a band. Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. And this one has music on it by a band called Low Roar. It's okay. It's kind of like what you would expect from a Japanese game with Americanized music in it. And this is basically a gigantic single. 1 song on each side, so that's a lot of wasted space on here. But because it's on 180 gram vinyl, and because all that space on one side is dedicated to 1 song, it sounds fantastic. You gotta give it to Mondo. Even if I wasn't collecting these for the music, I would do it just for the artwork, because these guys know how to put a package together. Another company that has been focusing on video game soundtracks on vinyl is one called I Am 8-Bit. I've talked about them in other videos, basically because they have just recently started getting into releasing physical versions of digital games for the PS4, like Res HD and Hyper Light Drifter, and I own them both because yes. And I Am 8-Bit does not focus on any specific company or game type. They do modern games, they do retro games, they do it all. But they're also great at packaging and keeping everything simple and clean. And I first found them by an ad on Facebook that said that this one particular soundtrack was available on vinyl, and it was just as I was getting into collecting for vinyl. Battletoads, which is a game by Rare. Actually, David Wise. Rare released the game, but David Wise composed the music. And out of all of the non-Japanese composers for NES games, David Wise is probably my favorite. That guy comes up with some awesome stuff. Love the simple artwork, but the inside gatefold, that is so cool. But the best part of it is the album itself. This green and yellow splatter pattern is awesome. I Am 8-Bit is the king of doing these simple covers that get the point across. And they don't usually tell you what game it is that the soundtrack is for on the front. You either have to recognize it by the art, or you check out the spine. The next one I got was for Quantum Break. It's a modern game for the Xbox One by Remedy, one of my favorite developers. Like I said, I love the simple artwork, and it has these holes cut into it so that when you take the sleeve out, it kind of makes it really plain looking, but you put this back in and you have this yellow backdrop on the front and on the back. Love this butterfly artwork. The album itself is clear with black splatter. Pretty awesome. Really cool symphonic and electronic music. Next is one I didn't think I was going to like, but I ended up buying it just because. And that is Ratchet and Clank, but this is to the game, not the movie, even though they are basically the same thing. Once again, awesome, simple artwork on the front and the back. Love the fact that on the sticker you got Clank with different expressions on it. Simple, translucent orange album. I love it. And the thing is, I ordered this on a whim because I wanted to have a different type of album. I mostly have like action game scores. This one is kind of cutesy and melodic, and it's actually very, very catchy. Time for the lightning rod of hate, people. No Man's Sky. And the cool thing about this is that the protector, it's the only thing that has the name of the game on it, which is cool. This is actually the artwork for the game, but just the fact that that's all that there is on it is just really cool. Love that. That is so cool. Your grave marker. I love that. You got your ship down here. I Am 8-Bit actually released like this special edition version that came with the album and like a replica of the ship that you fly around in the game, which I thought was kind of rad. First album is clear teal-ish. Sky blue, maybe? Sky blue. Let's go with that. Second album is a solid maroon, but the really cool thing is the back side of it is actually just etching. It's a design. You can't play this at all, but it's all the grave markers kind of in a spiral pattern. That is so neat looking. I heard a sample of the music in advance, and I'm like, wow, that is like very relaxing, and it's something that I would probably listen to when I'm writing or just to relax at the end of a workday. And I ended up pre-ordering this before the game was even released, which really says something. I really like the music that much, and it does not disappoint. It is amazing. Next is the soundtrack to a Steam game. Yeah, you know me, I'm not into downloadable games, but every once in a while, if there's something that's available that's either cheap on Steam or it's free or whatever, and it's something that I know I'd like to play, I'll do it just so I have like a casual game to play on my computer every once in a while when I don't want to boot up one of my consoles. That is FTL, or Faster Than Light. This is the Advanced Edition. When they released some more DLC content, this is the soundtrack to that DLC. So the front is this really cool metallic, reflective cover, kind of simulating going to warp. The back is just really simple, like a data readout for a computer with the track listings on it, which is kind of neat. The cool thing about this one is I love what the color of the album is, and it is this dark purpley maroon color mixed with some black and some white splatter. Like on this side it's super dark, but on this side it's actually kind of lighter. I don't know how they did that, but I like it. The music itself is very chiptune-y with some modern influences, very catchy. Love FTL, it's a great game. One of the few games I've downloaded on Steam that I really like. This next one could have very easily have been on my top 3 game soundtracks that I did for the Top 3 Tuesday video. But the thing is, I've been listening to this soundtrack for years because the video game that it is a soundtrack to actually came with the soundtrack on CD when it was first released to the home consoles. That might be a good clue. You might know what it is. Maybe. Possibly. Killer Instinct and Killer Cuts. Remember Killer Instinct for the SNES? Came with Killer Cuts on CD with it. I've been listening to that CD for years. I love the music from Killer Instinct, possibly because it's from Rare. This is actually the limited edition, either limited or pre-order edition. I can't remember. The standard edition has Spinal on the cover. This one has Fulgore. Really cool, reflective, metallic cover on both sides. The album itself is actually kind of disappointing looking. It's like this drab olive green, but it is 180 grams, which is awesome. All of I Am 8-Bit's albums are 180 grams. And the music still holds up. It is super catchy, gets you amped up to go and whoop someone's ass. I love it. This next one I was lucky to get, and that is because this particular limited edition version of this was limited to 500 pieces. And when I went to order it, I was at work when it first went on sale, and I had to order it through my phone. And as I was checking out, it sold out. It was taken out of my shopping cart. So I hit the back on the browser, takes me back to my shopping cart before it told me it was empty, and then went forward again, and it went through. And I managed to get a copy of the limited edition of the Uncharted 4 A Thief's End soundtrack. Lots and lots of things make this limited edition really cool. I will show you now. Not only does it come with its own protector with the label on it so you know what game it is, because like I said, there's no wording on the front of any of these I Am 8-Bit albums except on the spine. Awesome artwork, really simple, artistic. It's just kind of like a watercolor painting. Really cool map with the pirate stuff going on in it from the game. Love it. But the back has the track listing on a letter, which has been actually physically like masking taped to the back of the album, which I think is fantastic. Even has like some burn holes in it and a shamrock taped to the bottom. The thing about this that makes it the limited edition is the albums themselves, and they are the coin from the game. That is so goddamn rad. You have no idea how awesome and how badly I wanted this, because Uncharted is one of my favorite gaming franchises ever, and Uncharted 4 ended up being my favorite game of 2016, hands down. There's a foreword by the director of the game, Neil Druckmann, some shout-outs. Second disc is the exact same thing, but the sleeve for that one has a foreword by Henry Jackman, who's the composer. And Henry Jackman is actually a film composer, did the music for Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War, X-Men First Class, the 2 Kingsman movies, so he gets around. And when I found out that he was going to be the person composing the music for the newest, and final Uncharted game, I was thrilled beyond belief, because I wanted to see what he had up his sleeve for a video game, and he did not disappoint at all. It is a fantastic soundtrack. I listen to this all the time. This is probably the rarest thing I have in my collection. About as rare as the next one. This one I just got not too long ago. It took forever for them to release it. It is the Sunset Riders soundtrack. This is actually an EP, so it's about half the size of a standard album. But the thing is, this was limited to 1,000 pieces, and you had to pre-order it like a long time ago. I think this was back in... might have been in the winter. I'm not a huge fan of Sunset Riders. I mean, I think it's okay. I remember playing it back in the day, and I do have it for the Genesis, but I'm not a super huge fan, so I haven't opened it yet. Since this is kind of a collector's item, I might end up going the scumbag reseller route and hawking this on the eBay to maybe get some more video games in my future. But even if I don't sell it, this is just really cool to have. I Am 8-Bit puts out some great stuff, and I love their packaging. Almost as much as Mondo's, not quite as much, but when they do a special edition, they do it right. And this last stack here is from a whole bunch of different companies. These are ones I've just picked up here and there on the internet. So let's start off with the Darius soundtrack. This one I actually got from Limited Run Games. When Darius Burst CS went up for sale, this was also available, and I had to get the game in the morning sell-through and the album in the second afternoon sell-through. And it is just awesome. I have not opened it yet, so I cannot comment on the music, but I love the artwork. It is the original arcade artwork, and this is the original arcade soundtrack. I'll eventually open it to listen to it, mark my words. I never played this next game. I just recently pre-ordered it For the PS4, because I've watched video of it, I refuse to download it because, like I said, I'm not into downloading games. I had heard the soundtrack in advance, and I thought it was amazing. Axiom Verge. I actually got this off of Amazon, of all places. Thomas Happ composed the music for it. He's also the developer and the designer of the game.
The trifecta!
The dude's a jack of all trades, what can I say? It's like electronica music with some ambient stuff going on for mood. It is fantastic. I listen to this while I'm cleaning the apartment or cooking or something like that. I usually have this playing in the background. It is fantastic. It comes with some artwork on the inside. It's like some rough sketches for the game and a foreword by Thomas Happ. And the soundtrack comes on this translucent blue vinyl with some purple splatter on it. The attention that this game got, it's like a Metroidvania type of game from what I understand, which I love. So I cannot wait for my PS4 version of this to finally show up. I do believe in November or December. Next is for another game I have not played, but I have heard the soundtrack before. A friend of mine actually sent it to me and said, hey Chris, you gotta check this out. Lagrange Point. It's an RPG that came out for the original Famicom. Was never released over here in the US. I don't know why. This is from the Ship to Shore Phono Company. I stumbled upon them on the internet and liked what they had to offer. The music itself is very cool. I think this game also had that sound chip that the Castlevania 3 had in Japan. Yep, the VRC7 itself. The VRC7 chip was inside, so this had some awesome music. I must get a repro of this game so I can play it. The album itself is awesome. It's clear, but it has like these veins of blue and purple and red in it. I love this. This is so beautiful. The other one I got from the Ship to Shore Phono Company is Snatcher. Another game I've never played, but I know it from its reputation of being an awesome Blade Runner-esque cyberpunk adventure game. But I have heard the music from this before, and I loved what I heard back in the day, so when I found out that there was a version of it coming out on vinyl, I jumped on it. Awesome artwork. Got a bunch of the characters on the gatefold on the inside. More artwork on the back. The albums themselves are clear with green in the middle, which is kind of cool looking. Each album has the same design. And it also comes with some extra artwork. It's so cool. Am I willing to fork up $300 for a Sega CD game? No. But if someone wants to give me a deal, let me know. Awesome package. This next one was from a Kickstarter campaign that Church the Game Grinder turned me onto. He knows that I collect video game soundtracks on vinyl, and he sent me a message on Facebook saying you might want to check this one out. And another game I've never played, but I have heard the music before, and I liked what I heard. It's very electronic, cheesy disco, but also really moody type of action music. Hotline Miami. I've never played the game, like I said, but this is the most awesome album artwork ever. There are 3 full albums in here. This stuff. This is a freaking meth head fever dream.
God damn.
Each album comes with its own themed slip. The first one is this red one, that's the chicken character.
That's a chicken man guarantee.
Second one is this owl. And the third one is this horse. This one was actually not too expensive to get. It just took forever to come because, Kickstarter. But it's definitely worth it. I mean, after listening to this whole entire thing from beginning to end, it made me really want to play the game. Still haven't downloaded it. This next one is from a company called Brave Wave, who's actually been releasing a lot more stuff lately. One of which was the entire Street Fighter II arcade soundtrack, which is super catchy. You've heard it. But this one, Shovel Knight. Love the artwork. Love Shovel Knight in general. Look at that. That is so cool. The whole cast of characters and a forward on the back. One of my favorite games of all time. And it comes with an actual book. It is awesome. It's basically Q&A with the designers and the composer. Different artwork pictures. The albums themselves aren't too fancy. It's just this blue 180 gram. 2 albums of chiptune awesomeness. If you played Shovel Knight, you know what's going on. It's very chiptuny, but it's also very modern sounding. Next is an album by a company called Black Screen Records. And Sheldon from Retro Games Vinyl and Beer is the person who turned me on to this one. He was talking about it in one of his videos, and I said, yeah, that's one of my favorite franchises. I think I need it. New and tasty Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Got this awesome artwork of Rupture Farms. Yes. While the music is super catchy and well composed, the album itself is kind of lackluster. It's just this kind of teal greenish color. But there's something I never thought I would ever say in my life, and that's I am holding a copy of the Oddworld soundtrack on vinyl in my hand. And this last one is my favorite album in my entire collection. It is epic. It was expensive, but it was worth it because this is one of my favorite gaming franchises ever, especially the trilogy that came out for the NES back in the day. And when I saw that it was being released in this definitive edition collection, I had to have it, regardless of the price. I just had to. It was moral imperative. Ninja Gaiden. This is the soundtracks to Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3. All in one lovely, lovely, awesome package. And this one also came from Brave Wave. And when you open it up, you get all this awesomeness inside. Here's the soundtrack to the original Ninja Gaiden. Awesome artwork. This one also, like Shovel Knight, comes with a book. Interviews with the game makers and the composers. That is so freaking cool. Look at that. Even some artwork on the flipping maneuver. And the album itself is on this solid orange. 180 gram. The second Ninja Gaiden disc is on solid red. And the cool thing is, it tells you how to do the moves from the game. That is so cool. And then this second set has the soundtrack for Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3. This is the artwork for Ninja Gaiden 2. Look at that. Jakku! Or Jaquio, whatever you want to call him. I call him Jakku. I don't know why. Actually, my friend Gary was the one who got me saying that. Whatever. This also comes with a book. More artwork and Q&A with the game makers and the composer. Look at that. That artwork. So freaking awesome. That's the artwork for Ninja Gaiden 3. Look at that shit. Look at that. And the soundtrack for Ninja Gaiden 2 is on solid yellow 180 gram. And 3 is solid blue 180 gram. The Ninja Gaiden scores, any of them, 1, 2, or 3, could have showed up on my video game soundtracks Top 3 Tuesday video easily, but I didn't want to go for an obvious choice. But the soundtrack for the original Ninja Gaiden was one of those soundtracks that I actually had on audio cassette and I listened to on the bus going to and from school every day. So there's a lot of nostalgia in this box right here. This is, like I said, this is my favorite vinyl anything that I own right now. And there you have it, my entire video game soundtrack on vinyl collection. This is about 2 years worth of collecting, and there's still a ton that I would love to add to my collection. Every day I'm finding out about new companies that are releasing soundtracks that I find interesting or super nostalgic. I was just inducted into a group on Facebook that specializes in video game scores on vinyl, which is awesome. But to tell you the truth, this is something I never really thought I'd see myself doing. If 5 years ago you were to tell me that I would own a turntable and have a decent vinyl collection of my own, you know, not only bands, but film scores and video game soundtracks, I would have said you're absolutely nuts. I just thought that collecting vinyl was something that hipsters did. Turns out that's not the case. It's making a huge comeback. But I'm happy that these are in my collection. I listen to them all the time, and I'm glad that I started collecting them because they're a lot of fun. Yeah, they take up a lot of space. They are heavy as shit, but what can you do? So do you collect vinyl? Do you collect video game scores on vinyl? Do you collect film scores on vinyl? Would you like to see a video where I show off the movie scores I have on vinyl? Because I have some really cool ones in my collection. You have no idea. Which ones are these where you're like, damn? Which ones are you like, why'd you buy that? What is your favorite video game score? And which ones would you love to see released on vinyl in the future? Let me know in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I am Chris, the old ass retro gamer, signing off. Half the footage I'm recording today is going to be either me taking out or putting back in these albums in their sleeves. It's the worst part of collecting vinyl, trust me.